Yo people, Jeff here again for another subscriber question. Today we are addressing when the respect is gone. So the subscriber asks what to do or how to pick up when the respect is gone and in a relationship, and how can you address it so it doesn't happen again. Um, so I'm gonna tackle it from I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but I'm also going to put it in general because this doesn't only apply to romantic relationships, but relationships between friends, between new acquaintances, relationships between like a boss and employee. Respect is a factor that can go across the board of all types of human interactions. So I just thought I would tackle it in general so that you can pick up the processes behind why certain things occur and what you have to do next time to try to combat that. There's a lot of trial and error. It takes a fair amount of time to adjust these behaviors because you first have to identify them within yourself, and then it just comes with experience. The more you experience something and self-reflect, the better you might be able to handle it the next time around. So the first thing I say is when it comes to disrespectful behaviors or disrespectful actions from another person, it normally starts small and then it gets worse over time. This is because when somebody first meets you or when somebody is initially interacting with you, they don't know what type of person you are just as yet. So they don't know what you will tolerate from what you won't tolerate and how you will react to, little, we call them shit tests, like how somebody tests you to see how you would behave in certain scenarios or under certain circumstances. So it normally starts small. It might be a comment, or it might be a small action that might not be that blatantly obvious, but then you get a feeling like you feel slightly wronged or annoyed by a specific action. The worst thing to do is let it slide. Yeah, you don't have to stress over everything, but normally those initial phases, I find this is from personal experience too. All the times when I would have let small things slide, eventually the level to the person would take the disrespect to would generally get worse over time because basically it's just testing boundaries. That's what it is. If they start small and you don't do nothing, okay, well then maybe you could try something a little more disrespectful next time and see if you budge then. Which kind of led me to think which I'm gonna get to a little later, so I don't want to jump ahead. But yeah, it starts small. So maybe it is, let's say, you don't like when somebody calls you a particular name. Maybe it's in a name that they made up for you that you if you find it makes you uncomfortable, but yet you don't say anything about it. That's a very minor example. Then they might try encroaching on other boundaries. So for instance, you may be having a conversation with somebody and they can come and cut you off and start talking to that person and interrupt your conversation because they've already had previous experience with you that they can disrespect you and you won't necessarily take action. However, if you stop the small levels of disrespect and you nip them in the bud, they are more likely to think twice about disrespecting you in the future or carrying it to increasing levels of disrespect in the future. So it can range something as small as name calling, or just breaking little boundaries, trying to encroach on your space, those types of things, to actually full on breaking boundaries that you would normally consider a deal breaker before. Because if they have enough experience with you that you won't stand up for yourself, then they will feel more comfortable breaking boundaries. So let's say for instance you spend a particular amount of time doing something, like let's say on a Saturday morning you take the first hour to meditate and take that time for yourself. Let's just say a random example. And you find this person wants to come and encroach and interrupt on your time because they want your attention and they want it now. So they break the time that you have dedicated to yourself. That is them infringing on your boundary for your personal time, your self-reflection. Right? So that's an example. So if you don't know what your boundaries are now, then you lead yourself open to being disrespectful or being disrespected across the board, because you yourself don't know what makes you uncomfortable or what you don't like. And sometimes it just takes stating these things to the person. Well, hey, I don't like when you interrupt my sessions on Saturday morning. It is important to my mental health, or it helps de-stress me for the week, or it's part of my routine that keeps me balanced and keeps me focused when I'm at work. Those types of things, like a simple conversation. It doesn't have to be a conflict or an argument to solve somebody infringing on your boundary, but something that just takes stating firmly that you would not like this line crossed. The thing with that though is, if they do disrespect you and they do cross a boundary, then you have to have some action behind it for if they do, because like I said before, if they encroach on a boundary, if they breach your boundary or disrespect you and you don't do anything about it, they'll do it again. So let's say the same thing with the name calling. If the person continues to call you this name and then they start calling you this name in front of other people, and it's just up to you to pull them aside and say, listen, I understand you mean it all fun and games, but I really don't like when you call me this name that you've made up. It makes me uncomfortable. I would like you to stop. And if you don't stop, then I'm gonna have to cease the interaction between the two of us. It just takes something as simple as that, and you have to, follow up on your action. It shows that you have self-respect. It shows that you love yourself, but you also, in a way, it's kind of showing the person that you don't mind your interaction with them. It can be something that can be maintained, but I would like you to respect me and my feelings in the process. So find out where your boundaries are, make them clear, become firm on your boundaries, and then you have to have what can be like consequences for breaching your boundaries. It's some kinds of bad, but it's the same thing that children do. When children are, young, which is kind of repeating itself, but young children generally try to push the envelope to see just how much they could get away with their parents before they get in trouble. And it's kind of like you have to check them on it so that they know not to try again. And this behavior kind of stems over into adults and your interactions with them. So self-respect, boundaries, and backing it up with action would be the best way to deal with disrespect. And then something that I was thinking about the other day was acknowledging your role in people being disrespectful to you. So the reason that people would continue to let disrespect get to a certain level is because, like I said before, they never checked it. And it led me to think, if sometimes the interactions we had with others that went sour, if it could have been stopped if you had let them know your boundaries earlier. So you actually prevent them from getting to the point where they would have disrespected you, or if that is just how that person is and it would have come to that point either way. So that's something I was thinking on. If you have any thoughts on it, please, feel free to leave your thoughts on it in the comment section. Right, so it is important for you to acknowledge your role in your own disrespect. You have to have enough self-respect, and it takes a little bit of courage too, because I guess if you are somebody who's accustomed standing up to yourself, you might feel a little uncomfortable speaking up. That was me in my younger years, but experience and time would have showed me, certain things just need to be done. And standing up for yourself is something you should not be afraid to do. right? And then another part of this would be addressing your own insecurity. So you'll have some internal work to do, as in why you allowed the disrespect to occur in the first place. Normally, insecurities, like an example of an insecurity that could lead somebody to, tolerating disrespect, is the need to be loved because they don't feel like they are enough. That's one example. So, in order to, gain the approval of their peers or the person that might doing the disrespect, they might just brush it under the rug in hopes that it will go away, and in hopes that the relationship will get better, or in hopes that they don't hinder the status quo, or they don't make the other person uncomfortable by speaking up for themselves and how what the other person is doing makes them feel. And like they may fear the consequences of them speaking up means the end of that relationship, or like the person might not like them anymore. And to be quite honest, that might very well be the case. It might very well be the case that from the time you speak up for yourself, or from the time you put a stop to disrespectful actions, that the person realizes they can no longer control you or belittle you, that they may leave you alone. My thing to that is, why wouldn't you want that to happen? Why would you want somebody like that to be in your space to put you down, or to make you feel less than them, or less than you should feel ideally? You want people around you that can make you feel better about life, or make you feel better about yourself, or make you feel better in your presence, that are encouraging. So that leads me to think you have your own some insecurities or internal work that you should address as well. Right? The thing about when the respect is totally gone now, that after you've let it get too far, the disrespect has gotten too big, they've crossed the line which should not have been crossed. It means they have so little respect, or no respect for you at all, that they will feel comfortable enough to carry out such an action. Once that is gone, honestly, it doesn't come back. You have to stand up for yourself in the initial stages, or how that person views you, I find typically is damaged permanently to an extent. Can it be that the person sees you differently after a specific period of time? Yes, it is possible, but will they ever fully have that level of respect for you? I have not come across it yet, and it's kind of like something is like a limited resource. So once all is gone, then it's pretty difficult to get it back to full then, because how they view you is somebody who is insecure or will not stand up for themselves. And to me, it ends up being too much to maintain, having to constantly check that person for disrespect, because their level of respect for you has gone so far that they're just going to keep doing it, to be honest. So at that point, the question would be, is it even worth it once the respect is gone? Right? Alright, so yep, that's my response to today's question. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like as usual, leave a comment below, and subscribe to support the channel. And yeah, looking forward to answering more of your questions.